Hello, welcome to Lingua Latina per se illustrata margin notes. This is Mr. K, and in this tutorial I'll explain how the margin notes work in Lingua Latina because these are critical, probably one of the most important thing that you'll learn to help you to advance in your Latin studies. So here you can see that we're in the Familia Romana text in Capitulum Primum, the first chapter, and notice the way that the page is set up. At the top we have a picture, and this is often the way that Hans Orberg will introduce new vocabulary through a picture with a Latin word. Everything in Lingua is in Latin, so you have to understand it from the context, so pictures help quite a bit. Here we see an insula, which you can tell from the picture is an island, an oppidum, a town, and a fluvius, river. So now in context we know what those words mean based on the picture without having any English translation. In the margins, these are what we call the margin notes, or the marginalia, and the first note we see is a and long a, short a and long a. Notice the macron over this a. It means it's a different sound. It's a longer sound, an ah sound instead of just ah. And so here we see Italia, and then we have in Italia. These are two different constructions, so you have to pay attention to these endings. And what this is telling us in this note is that Italia by itself is a short a ending, Italy, and when you add in the preposition with it, you get a long a, in Italia. Notice here, that is a grammar note. So there are 3 or 4 different kinds of notes that Orberg will introduce in these margins. So you need to know what the grammar means. If you don't understand it, please ask or send a question to me and let me know, because after reading you need to understand all of the margin notes. Here we have another grammar note, est and sunt. Italia in Europa est, Italia et Graecia in Europa sunt. What this grammar note is telling us is that est is used when you have a singular, so Italia, Italy, is in Europe, Italia in Europa est. Italia et Graecia, we have 2 subjects, Italy and Greece, in Europa sunt. So the verb changes based on the number, singular or plural. So that's a grammar note. So let's look ahead for another kind of note. And we have down here, est ne. This is another grammar type note. Est, which means is. When you want to make it into a question, is this so? Then you add ne to it, the enclitic word ne. These margin notes, if they're not clear to you from context, the grammar notes, the Latine disco that you have will help to clear those up. And also, as I go through the lessons, you can also send me a question. Another kind of note, let's find the next kind of note here, is this kind of vocab note. Look on the left where you have parvus, and then the little arrows pointing against each other, magnus. Parvus non est magnus. So when you hear me say this margin note, I will say non magnus, it's not large, and the antonym, this is an antonym note, is parvus. So from context you knew that magnus was large. Tiberis non est fluvius magnus is not a large river. Tiberis fluvius parvus est. It's the opposite. So we can figure out that parvus means small. Okay, so you have antonyms, we have grammar notes and antonyms, and then of course we'll have synonyms, or actually down here we have the next kind of note, which is a derivative note. De Roma, this is how I would say this, where you have the little caret, or the less than sign. De Roma, from the word Rome, we get the word Romanus aum, which is Roman. One more kind of note, which is just the synonym note, and we have that down here. I believe we have one. Yeah, here we go. Unus is equal to 1. Okay, and other words where you have synonyms, words that you know, they'll be compared to each other, and so you'll learn new words from old words. I've recorded all of the margin notes, which you can listen to while you were studying a chapter every day until you know them and you've mastered them. You really need to know them well to be able to do Pensum B, which is the most challenging pensum. So I suggest studying these margin notes, either listening to them every day or studying them every day. They're the key to understanding Latin. And email me if you have questions, and good luck.